What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from MTG Headquarters. Doing what I do every time a new pre-release comes around and getting you ready. As you guys know, I consider Limited my jam, the format I play the most, and the format I think I'm the best at. And so what I like to do is compile some of my thoughts on things that I've had success with. Many of these suggestions are the same every time, but between each pre-release, we have thousands of new subscribers. So stop me if you heard some of these before. Well, don't stop me. So we have, before the event, things that I think are important, and sorry, I'm super sick right now. Things that I think are important to having a successful pre-release in terms of your overall experience as well as wins and losses. So before the event, you want to dedicate at least a little time to spoilers, both in the new set and refreshing what cards to look for in Battle for Zendikar. Because if you remember, well, you might not know yet, but you get 4 packs of Oath, but also 2 packs of Battle for Zendikar. So you're going to want to be thinking about the cards that you're going to look for to work together, combos, archetypes, things like that. Which leads to the second thing, understand the archetypes available in sealed pools. So you have allies, red-black Devoid, blue-black Devoid, you have Grixis Devoid, blue-white Flyers, all sorts of different things that you can build. And if you understand the archetypes of a particular sealed pool, it'll make deck building a lot easier. And there are actually a lot of free sealed pool generators out there, and I'm going to put out some videos this week to help prepare you by using them. I'm also going to put out additional videos talking about all the removal from the new set. This entire week, just like pre-release always, is me working to my best ability to help prepare you for successful pre-release. After you understand the archetypes, you want to read through and understand the new mechanics. I've already done a video on the mechanics, so if you missed it, go back a few days, and you just want to understand how the mechanics work, interact, and maybe which ones you want to look for. Then, the boring stuff. Try to get a good night's sleep. I know it's not possible for a lot of you, especially those of you like me who go to a midnight pre-release and then a noon, and then a 5, and then another noon. But getting rest is important. Also, trying not to eat junk food is also important. Coming from a resident fat bearded Magic player, I know that doesn't carry a lot of weight. But around pre-release, I always try to not eat at McDonald's beforehand. I try to eat light and to the best of my ability. If I oversleep or I'm running out of time, sure, I'll eat junk food. I probably will. But in an ideal world, it's an old chess thing I used to do when I went to compete. And maybe it's just like a superstition more than science. But I had an old chess coach that always used to tell me, don't eat a big meal before you play because your body diverts resources to digestion and you don't think as clearly. I don't know if any of that's true, but it's something I've always done. And, having a healthy meal before pre-release isn't going to hurt you anyway. Then you want to bring all that you need. Okay, so bring your playmat, your sleeves, your dice. You want to bring lands. What I try to suggest is bring a land pack or, 20 of each land. If you really want to go crazy, you can pre-sleeve your lands so you have the maximum amount of time to deck build. I almost always forget to pre-sleeve my lands, and I always regret it because the land box or land stations at pre-release are a nightmare. There are long lines, and you only get a dedicated amount of time to build your deck. And Colt says he's going to step on things and reveal my next slide because that's what Colt does. But bring your trade stuff if you want to trade. I don't like bringing trade stuff because it's a distraction. But, bringing a deck box or a healthy snack, something to drink. I'm not saying don't support your local game store. I think you should buy stuff from there if they have it. But a lot of times they just have, chips and soda. And I'd rather have like a granola bar or something like that because pre-release is a long event. And so you need to plan accordingly. Once you sit down, you're going to get 4 Oath of the Gatewatch boosters, a spin down, a card divider, a deck box, which will last just one day, and a randomized date stamp promo card. I talk about not trading this because it's been in my experience that I don't. Well, now my dog's down here, but I don't. When you see the chase rares that you might get in this particular spot, they're the ones that hold their value. And as sets are opened like they are, especially with the expeditions, the date stamped rares seem to hold their value a little bit better. So, unless you need the money, and if it's a chase rare that's date stamped, I find that they hold their value a little bit better. Just food for thought. Your curve when you're building your deck is super important. This is something I go over in every video. 1 mana creatures, you want 0 for the most part. 2 mana, 4 to 6. 3 mana, 3 to 5, you can read. Now, I like to play heavy 2 mana creatures because in sealed, while the late game is really important, you can also just get overrun early and not be able to come back from it. So playing a bunch of 2-drops early is always pretty solid sealed tech. Now, in a 40-card deck, you're going to play 18 lands. And you're going to want to play creature heavy. Anything that's beefy and has evasion is like an auto include. And certainly removal without restrictions is very, very important. But even spot removal, like -3/-3 spells, things like that are also very good. There's a lot of removal in Oath of the Gatewatch. The power level is way up over Battle for Zendikar. So you're going to want to play big fatties. You're going to want to be able to get rid of fatties because it's sealed. Board stalls happen. Many times in a sealed event, you end up with you both have 5 or 6 creatures out until somebody casts a mythic or a big bomb, and if you can't get rid of it, you lose the game. So being able to remove those big bombs and saving your removal to late game, I think, is really disciplined play, and it's something that's always paid dividends for me. Unless a threat is imminent, I try to save non-conditional removal as long as I can. And to kind of summarize things, when I go to pre-release, I want to win. But I realize it's not the only thing. It's not even close to the only thing. If you're lucky enough to open an expedition, you can play it. I wouldn't, but that's just because the incremental value of it is probably not worth the damage you're going to do to it. But maybe if it's a Mana Confluence or something like that, I might play it. But also remember, pre-release is about having fun. So if you're worried about if you're coming back to the game, you're new. Pre-release is definitely a time for a lot of new players. You might want to call around to a couple local game stores if you have the option and figure out what kind of crowd comes to their pre-release. For example, if you're a competitive player, the pre-release at Through the Decades in Louisville, Kentucky is a great place to be. It's highly competitive. There's 100+ players. There's huge prize payout. But it's pretty cutthroat. And so if you're returning to the game, that can be kind of intimidating. My local game store here, Menominee Falls, does 4 rounds of pre-release. Lots of people get prizes. And it's more casual. And so if you're looking for a more casual type experience, it could pay dividends just to call around and see what's going on. Or if you're looking for a more competitive one. Like, I really enjoy the opportunity to win a box of a set that isn't even out yet. So I look for pre-releases that you can win a box. While you're there, there's going to be a lot of downtime. So you want to make an effort to meet new people. introduce yourself at minimum to your opponents. Pull anything good? How's your night going? Are you tired? Are you doing any other pre-release events tomorrow? It's a great way to meet people, and it's also a great way to meet a potential two-headed giant partner for Sunday's pre-release events. We all love Magic. We all have something to talk about. There's no reason to not be friendly at your pre-release. Remember that Sealed is about fatties and board stalls. Evasion and late game is your most important thing most games. Now, if you can build a very aggressive landfall deck or a very aggressive allies deck and just run people over early, great. But those decks really can't ever miss. There's no catching up from missing your 2 and 3 drops if you're playing an aggressive deck in most cases. Fatties win games, evasions, fatties stall the board and evasion wins games. So this is especially true in this block with so many Eldrazi. A vanilla 6/6 is still very, very playable in this format, I think. And remember, you're going to need a way to get rid of those things. So if you don't have non-conditional removal, combat tricks, things like that are going to be important. So you don't want to overlook them. Hey, and, take a shower and wear deodorant. Don't dress like a slob. This is a personal thing. If somebody wears pajamas to pre-release, I'm not going to judge them for it. If somebody smells a pre-release, I am going to. So, don't be a stereotype. And while you're playing, remember, judges are there to help. Don't be afraid to call one. It doesn't make you a jerk. If you have a question, I have often told a story about taking suggestions from your opponent. And while most opponents will give you good advice, some of them won't. And what I always say is if I have a question, I can say, hey, I don't want to put you in a position to feel weird, to have a conflict of interest, so I'm just going to ask a judge. Or you can just call for a judge. It's not a big deal. People who are not brand new are totally used to it, especially with a new set. People are going to make mistakes. I remember one time at my, what was it? 2 pre-releases ago, I completely misunderstood a mechanic and played it wrong to my opponent's peril. Something I totally regret. But he might have thought something was up, but he didn't say anything because I played it confidently. I thought I understood how it worked, but it didn't. And, he could have just asked a judge. I wouldn't have been offended, and I would have felt like an idiot for misplaying it because I wasn't trying to cheat. I misread it. So these things happen at pre-release, so don't be offended and don't feel bad to call a judge. Pre-release takes a really long time, so you're going to want to plan accordingly. If you're going to play in a large event with a lot of people, you might want to find out how many rounds it is and things like that. But overall, Wizards has gotten a lot better, and local game stores have gotten a lot better with how they run pre-releases. And I think if you can take some of this more general pre-release advice and apply it to this upcoming Oath of the Gatewatch pre-release, along with the rest of the videos I'm going to release this week, I think you're going to set yourself up for a really good chance of success. Of course, it's sealed, and more than 50% of your likelihood of winning is going to be up to the packs. So if you open a junk pool, you're not going to be able to play your way out of it. Don't feel bad. This is variants of pack opening. If you open, 4 on-color rares and an on-color mythic, you better do some winning. That's all I have to say. Thanks for watching this video. We'll talk to you again real soon. What's up, and thanks for watching this video. I produce all different kinds of content, so if you haven't yet, click on my face to subscribe. If you want to watch more videos, I've got some sweet playlists, including this one, where I open up every fat pack ever created. I've also got this one over here where I open just about anything vintage and old and expensive for your enjoyment. And all this is made possible by the awesome backers at our Patreon, which is linked in the description of every video. Hop on over there, check it out, see if it's something you might want to consider. If not, sit back, enjoy, And I'll still love you.